nothing like a cold day to kick off our first shipment of proven winter perennials for the 2025 season. Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and as you can see here in West Michigan, we've had quite a bit of snow lately, and it does make for a pretty backdrop, although it is quite cold. So we're going to actually head inside and take a look at what goes into just getting these perennial plugs ready to be planted so that they're ready in time for the spring shipping season. So let's head inside where it's a little bit warmer, take a look at the beautiful perennial plugs that came in today. We're going to also show you the process that goes into getting those planted. So we'll visit our potting machine, our sticker machine, and we're even going to see the team out in the greenhouse today getting these plants prepped, ready, and planted for this season. So let's head inside. Earlier today, the truck from Walter's Gardens came by and dropped off about 50 or so thousand plugs of perennials. So these perennials come in various stages. Some are growing live or live plant material, and others of them come more in a dormant form. We're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the various sizes that the perennials come in, as well as a lot of the varieties that you're seeing here on these shipping carts as they're getting unloaded from the truck today. So this was our first delivery of the season, as I mentioned, with 50,000 plugs of perennials from Walter's Gardens. We're going to have several more deliveries come from not only another shipment from Walter's Gardens, but from other perennial plug suppliers as well. One neat thing, as we're out here in the greenhouse, is in having them all laid out, it's really interesting to see all the different colors and textures of the foliage of all these plants kind of all setting here side by side. Another interesting thing is you'll notice there are some rows that have maybe just one flat of plants, and other rows that have many rows of the same variety. And what you're seeing there is some varieties we don't sell as much as others, and some varieties we just sell a ton of. So as we look here at the lavender Sweet Romance, you're going to notice there's a ton of flats of Sweet Romance. Lavender Sweet Romance is one of our most popular perennial varieties, and that is why we're just seeing so many plugs that will get planted up here in the next week or so. When we get these plugs in, some of them are actively growing, like we're seeing here today with this dianthus, and others, and I'll show you in just a minute, like our grasses, they come in at a dormant state. The other thing is when these plants come in, there's several different what we call plug sizes that they come in as well. So the difference between why some plants have a bigger plug and smaller plug, some of it's just availability. I mean, typically most of our plants come in these nice 72 count plugs, which is a perfect size for planting up into our quart size containers. While others may not be available in this size, we might have to go up to a 20 count or any size in between. So this is just one example of a plug that we'll be planting out in the greenhouses today. Here's some Heuchera Wild Rose, and these actually come in a 20 count plug tray. So I'm going to try to go ahead and get one pulled out of here, which, as you can see, is a much larger start of a plant. The tops, although, are sort of similar in size, the bottoms definitely, there's a lot more root growth on this and a much bigger plug. So this would be something that we would typically plant into our 1 gallon containers, giving that plant just a quicker start on the smaller plugs. Certain varieties do come to us in a dormant state, such as these Lone Star hostas. As you can see, there's absolutely no growth on these particular plants. They are totally dormant. So this is something we're going to want to get into the heat so that we can get it sprouted for spring. Having a hard time trying to pop one out for you. But what I want to show you is the excellent root system on these plants. So although this plant is absolutely dormant, no top showing, you can see that it has an excellent root system. And it's the root system that's going to give this plant a great start. This fall or early winter, we started to get shipment in of all of our potting soil in these giant bags that you're seeing here. These are all packed tight of the soil that our perennials and our annuals get planted into. Now, when we order our soil, we do order 2 different type of mixes. one specifically for annuals and another specifically for perennials. They tend to like to grow in different mediums, and so that's why we do have the separate mixes for each of those particular varieties. So I think this year so far we've gotten 3 semis of soil in. That was just to get us started, and we'll be getting more in here as we get planting and figure out kind of how much soil do we need to continue planting into the spring. Here in the sticker room, the pots are all getting their individual barcode label applied to them. This machine has been a huge time saver. This used to all be done by hand, and currently, as long as they don't have any hiccups along the way, they can run about 1,500 plus or minus a few hundred pots through this in an hour. Right now I'm in our shipping area, and we're actually using this as a staging room for pots that have been stickered. So all the pots that we're using this year for our annuals and our perennials are actually the Eco Grandes or the Eco Plus pots, and these are biodegradable pots. So what you can do with these is there's 2 ways of using them. One is you can pull these side tabs off, and it reveals the whole root system here on the bottom and the sides. And especially for your perennials, you can plant these right into the ground. For annuals, typically, personally, I still remove the annuals from the pots and just plant the root ball into the ground. But for those of you who want to, you can also plant this into the ground. Although with annuals, like I said, I still like to just plant normally, you might say. But the nice thing is these are not made of plastic. It's all recyclable, or material that it's used from breaks down. So even if you throw them in your compost bin or in your trash, this is a product that's going to break down within a couple years, where plastic takes several years to break down. So we're excited to be offering all of our perennials and annuals in this new material this year. We've trialed it for 2 years now. 1 year we did the annuals, the next year we did the perennials, but this year both of those product lines are in the new Eco Grande quartz and Eco Grande 4.5 inch as well. So these obviously are already put on shipping carts, and they have been assigned to a greenhouse that they're going to go to. So this one has an 8N, so it's going to 8 north. And then 58 just signifies like 56. Oh, 57 is in the back, 58, 59, and 60. So in the order in which they're going to need to get planted. But before they get planted, they're going to get sent off to our flat filling machine, which is going to fill all these pots with soil. And we're going to show you that here in just a few minutes. This is our Maxi Pro filler from the Bolden Lawson Company. And we affectionately have named this machine Fill, because as you can see, it's doing a great job of filling all of the pots that our perennials will soon be getting planted into. So we have a conveyor belt system that takes the empty pots, corners them, and brings them into the flat filling machine. Once they get under there, the machine is dropping soil into the pots, packing it into the appropriate amount of firmness that we wanted that soil packed into, and then brushing off any excess on the top. So that way, as it comes out the other end, it'll be a nice, smooth, and flat filled pot. This flat filling machine has been an absolute time saver. We had an older version of this. We didn't have all the conveyor systems in place, and it would take usually about 4 or so people to get this job done. Now, with the help of all the conveyor systems here, this has now become a 1-person job, with an additional person that's just bringing soil as the soil is getting emptied out through the hopper. Today the team's out planting our perennials that we got in, and we actually have 2 different planting lines set up. One is our bare root planting line, and we'll go ahead and show you the different varieties that come via bare root and what that looks like. And then we'll head out in the greenhouses in just a second and show you our plug planting line as well. So let's take a closer look here. We are in the barn, and we have 2 different planting machines going on right now. So 2 different people are working at the same time planting our bare root perennials. So this machine here, basically the soil kind of circulates through as they're filling up the pots. This we got, I think, 2 years ago, these machines, and they have really been just a fantastic addition to us here at Garden Crossings and what we do. They're from the Stilt Pro company, and if anyone is a grower or greenhouse that does their own planting, I highly recommend checking out the Stilt Pro company because these just really have been amazing. And they're made in the USA, which awesome as well. So Marissa, let's show them what you've got here. So she's got what are called bare root perennials. It looks like these were pretty big plants. So they were cut into smaller sizes to fit into our quart-sized containers. Let's see, what are they?
Midnight Masquerade.
All right, the Midnight Masquerade, penstemon. So we get permission to trim these. We have to buy tags and pay the royalty on these plants because when we buy them in, we're buying them in as one. But because we have split them into smaller sizes, there are royalties and different fees involved now that we've got, you know, a couple plants per initial one. So basically they take the plant, they cut the roots off a little bit because sometimes these roots can be almost 12 inches long, which is far too big for the quart size planters or containers. They'll put a little soil in the bottom, take the plant, kind of hold it in place as they're letting the soil fill in around. So let's go in and take a closer look at how that's done. Pack soil in there nice and tight around that bare root piece, and then they're going to get tagged and brought out into the greenhouse where then they'll get set down. So some of the reasons why some plants are plug varieties versus bare root varieties, some of it's just because what it's available in. Some of the bare root options are not available in a plug, and vice versa. We do like to start off with bare root if we're able to, because it's a bigger, nicer, more well-established plant to start off with. It gives us a quicker start on the plant as well. But certainly there's some varieties that we don't need a quicker, faster start, so the plugs are just perfect for what we're needing them for. So we're going to go ahead and head out into the greenhouse and check out our other planting line where they're planting the plugs right now. And you'll notice that's going to be more of a teamwork type of a process where there's an assembly line going on. Out here in the barn, there's still a lot of teamwork going on because we have the team behind us here that's kind of pulling the bare root apart, trimming any roots if the roots are long, knocking off any excess soil and such. We also have somebody who's bringing the pots to the girls as needed, tagging them, and getting them ready to head out into the greenhouses. This here is our plug planting line, and this is run by about 5 different people. We have one person on the far end that's grabbing the pots, verifying that the pots have the correct sticker on them for the variety that they're planting. As mentioned earlier, every pot gets stickered with a unique barcode label. It looks like right now they are planting Violet Delisperma. Then that same person goes down and grabs the plugs. They bring them over here to the planting line where we have 2 people, one on each side, plugging the plugs into the soil. They're kind of working in teamwork, planting their own side and bringing the plugs, setting them on top of the soil for themselves and the other person if they get kind of caught up in a head. We have this belt set at a certain pace, so that way it keeps a very consistent flow of planting. So ideally, if the belt stays at the same pace, we know by the end of the day how many plants should be able to get planted in an 8-hour day. As the plants continue to roll their way down the track, the next step would be the tags put in them. But these particular varieties, we do not have the tags for yet. So we will have to come back later on once the tags arrive and tag every pot. Unfortunately, that's not an ideal situation, but sometimes that is what has to get done because the plants, more importantly, are to be planted than worry about if the tags are here or not. So today, because there is no tags, we have 2 people that are also setting the plants down, which is kind of nice because that way it kind of saves the back just a little bit. The nice thing is the people that are setting down, they really do enjoy that job, and if they have the choice, do choose to do that all day long. So kudos today to Rhonda and Stephanie for wanting to do all the walking and bending of putting down the plants. Once the plants all get set down, an important next step is getting them watered in really well. Back in the greenhouses here, we keep it at sort of minimal temperatures, but we'll probably start cranking it up here the next couple weeks or so to get these bare root plants actively growing. Usually in the greenhouses, depending how sunny it is out here, they are definitely checking water daily, but this time of year they're watering every maybe 2, 3, 4 days, just depending on how much the sun has dried the plants out. So before we head over to our next planting station, we've got Deb out here in the greenhouse, and she's part of our inventory team. So we're going to ask her what exactly it is that she's doing out here with these perennials right now.
So I'm counting every plant in the variety that was just planted to make sure that the numbers match, and also locating the plants where they belong in each greenhouse and adding a bucket stake to each block of plant variety.
So the reason why it's important for Deb to do what she does out here in the greenhouse is, especially with selling plants online, we have to know exactly how many plants of each variety that are planted at any given time are available. So when we go online, we'll have, let's say, 1,000 plants. Those 1,000 plants may get planted in 3 different planting cycles. So we know that 333 are available on March 15. 333 are available on April 15, and so on. So as we're selling them online, the system is usually smart enough to know once that first planting is sold out, it will bump into the next planting. Obviously, I don't have 1,000 available right away on March 15, but it's nice because the plants aren't all big and huge, which sometimes isn't a good thing, right away. So by staggering the planting, it allows for the nicest, perfect sized plants, the freshest plants, to get shipped out at various points in the season. So the bucket stakes, the number on that is very important. When our picking team comes out into the greenhouse, they identify the plants they need to pick based off of the number on the various stakes. Their little scanners will go and scan the tag. There's 2 different ways of scanning, a barcode and then the QR code, so 2 different ways, and that will verify that they have the correct plants that they're going to need for the orders when they're out picking in the spring. So a lot of times when people are selling plants, they know at the end of the day, I sold 10,000, 100,000 quart-sized perennials. For us, we can break it down to, at the end of the day, we sold this many salvia, this many coneflower of a specific variety, and that's really helpful with the inventory system. I love this time of year when the greenhouses start filling up again for spring, and it's very fun to be back here out in the greenhouses every week or so, just watching the progress of these little babies as they're growing. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. If you're new to our channel, we welcome you to subscribe. And if there's anything that you're looking for plant related, head to our website, gardeningcrossings.com, where we can ship any one of these plants directly to your door. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.